I'm here with Rabbi Wildes and Bezrat Hashem. Today we're playing a game that I'm calling Is It Forbidden? I have made a list of things that seem wrong. They seem like maybe things people shouldn't do. And I want you to tell me if they are actually forbidden in Jewish law.
Oh, boy.
Are
Okay.
you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Now, the first one I didn't write down, but it just came up as we were setting up. Is it forbidden to use religious books to prop up your microphone stand?
You could see I took the book on marital counseling. That's what my microphone is resting on now. It's not absolutely, when I answer these questions, I'm going to tell you if it's biblical, rabbinic, or just, Yiddish for not appropriate. Pashnisht.
Pashnisht.
Pasht. I don't know a lot of Yiddish, but, it's just not, you don't do it. It's just not so nice. Is it absolutely forbidden to put a microphone on top of a Talmud or a Torah or Bible? It would probably be forbidden from the Torah, or at least rabbinically, if it was a Sefer Torah, if it was an actual Torah scroll. Right. But if it was just a book with the text of the Torah in it, it would be pashnisht. It wouldn't be appropriate. It wouldn't be, we want to show respect to these items, but it doesn't have the status of something that has to, that you can't put something on top. Now, there is a tradition of putting different books on top of each other. For example, would you put a Bible on top of a Talmud or a Talmud on top of a Bible?
Oh, I think you could justify it either way, really. But I guess Bible's always on top.
Bible's on top. And it goes further. Underneath the Talmud would be, let's say, a Rashi commentary. And under a Rashi commentary would be a later sage. Let's say one of the, contemporary rabbinic figures. Because as the further back you go, the more respect it demands. So therefore, Chumash is on top. Underneath Talmud, underneath that, let's say the codes, things that sort of came later. Interestingly, something that sort of contradicts it a little is a siddur, prayer book, always goes on top of everything.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's because it contains Hashem's name, although a Bible does as well. But the custom has developed that, and I think this is in the realm of custom. Now, customs are very important in Judaism. We should take them seriously too, but they don't have the same stature as, let's say, a biblical or rabbinic law.
Would setting a book down with its cover up fall into the same category?
So generally, if you have a book, a Jewish book, with Torah content, should not leave it open.
Oh.
If you're not studying it,
okay,
you should close it. It's not considered respectful.
Oh.
It could also, something could spill on it or get ruined in some kind of way. You're supposed to try to treat it with as much respect. I'll tell you what comes up a lot is I carry around a lot of Jewish books with me. I'm old school. I don't like doing everything online.
Yeah, me too.
And it happens you're in the airport and you go to the bathroom. You don't want to leave your knapsack outside of the bathroom. What do? I'll ask you.
Oh, but you shouldn't bring holy books into the bathroom either.
Correct.
But you can't leave your bag unattended. They'll come and tackle you, and the dog comes.
I hate those dogs.
And you definitely shouldn't ask someone to hold it for you.
Right. So I was actually just studying this with my son, Yehuda, who's in Israel. We're learning the laws of tefillin. People used to wear tefillin all day. So there's a whole protocol. What do you do with your tefillin if you need to go to the bathroom? You can't bring tefillin into the bathroom.
Right.
So the answer is, as long as there's a covering over it, and we usually use two coverings for a davar shebekdusha, something which has a matter of sanctity, which is why you go into any temple, any synagogue, where's the Torah?
In the ark.
In the ark, but the Torah is also encased in a beautiful covering, and then it's in the ark. So there's always two things.
Okay.
So if you have a Jewish book, a Tanakh, a Torah book in your knapsack and you go into the bathroom, it's okay as long as there are two coverings to it. Put it in a bag inside your knapsack.
Does the cover of the book itself count?
That's a great question. Maybe.
Okay. But it'd be good.
I'd have to do a little more research because some of the pages are kind of exposed, but it's closed.
Right.
The cover is there.
So the words are not exposed.
The words are not exposed. You could probably get away with it. Better to have a second.
It'd be good to have it protected. Okay. All right. Well, we're 5 minutes in. Let's get to the first one on the list.
Okay.
Foul language, using foul language, obscene language. Is it forbidden?
Yes.
Wow.
And this is very difficult because it has become so much part of our vernacular.
Mm-hmm.
Comedians, make their livings off cursing,
Oh, yeah.
which is why, by the way, I have great respect for Jerry Seinfeld for many reasons. Besides the fact I think he's a brilliant comedian, he never curses.
Right.
He doesn't, and he once in an interview said, "I don't look down at people who do curse. It's just not my genre."
Right.
And I always feel like you're stooping. It's an easier laugh. We are supposed to be very careful with the way we use our speech. So words that are associated with more graphic things that are more private,
Right.
are inappropriate. And I realize that this goes up against a lot of the culture in which we live. But that's technically we're technically forbidden from cursing. I'll say darn a lot, or shmegegi, or come up with some other words.
Whoa, what's shmegegi?
Shmegegi is just like I don't know, somebody who's a shmegegi. How else do you explain it?
Okay.
But it's hard, and I'll tell you also what's interesting is that you go into certain lines of work where people are not generally using 4-letter words all the time, but then they go to work, and then all of a sudden it just becomes part of the, I noticed that. I worked in law for a bit before I
Really,
was
in
a
law?
rabbi. Law is not so bad,
Yeah.
but it's worse like in, I don't know anymore, but in the financial world, like trading in the pit.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
can get a little graphic there.
Well, I came here right from the army, right? So you can only imagine what it's like there.
Bad?
Oh, yeah, of course. It's just normal.
It's normal.
Yeah.
But is there any kind of, in front of a superior officer or in doing something official, they would probably frown. Is it forbidden to curse like in those contexts in the army?
No. I think there's kind of an understanding of what is what's considered disrespectful, and that doesn't seem to be a big part of it, really.
Really?
Yeah, I was surprised in some of the places that people used it, and it was just considered normal.
Interesting. It's a good example of how things just sort of seep in when we get used to them and we stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
And it becomes second nature, and then it becomes very hard to break that habit. But the Torah is very, very intent, and the sages, a lot of writings, a lot of ink spilled about the power of our words.
Oh, yeah.
And the words we use to express our ideas. We're not supposed to just use anything to get the idea out. We want to use what's called in Hebrew lashon nikiyah, which means clean language, and really elevate the conversation.
Right. I think much like you want to live in a clean house and you'd like to live in a safe, clean neighborhood, and you'd like to be immersed in clean language.
Yeah. I want to recognize that it's difficult because the world is not living like this. And if you live in the world, we're affected by our surroundings, clearly.
Yeah.
But, that's our job as the Jewish people, to bring some light, elevate the conversation.
But what is the status of the prohibition? What is the category of prohibition?
That I don't know. I have to check that out. It's at least rabbinically forbidden. I don't know if it's biblically forbidden. I'd have to look that up. You do me a favor. I want to write down.
Sure.
Because I didn't really prepare. You're doing this offhand, which is good. Spontaneous is good, but I'd like to remember. Is it biblical? Is it rabbinic? I know it's forbidden. I just don't know what level.
Okay. But we're not going to do it anyway. We're going to watch our mouths anyway.
We'll try. Yeah.
Okay. And then along those lines, what about spreading gossip? Is it forbidden?
That is forbidden on the biblical level.
Yeah.
Lo selech rachil ba'amecha, the Torah says. Do not walk as a talebearer amongst your brethren.
A talebearer.
Yeah, the Hebrew word, the biblical word for gossip is rechilut.
Rechilut.
Yeah. It's different than what we know normally. I'm sure you're familiar with the term lashon hara.
Right.
That's a rabbinic term, and it refers to negative speech. Rechilut is like the whole category of forbidden speech, speaking ill about others, but it refers specifically, this is very interesting, to gossip. Now, what's gossip? Lashon hara is different than gossip. Lashon is language. Hara means bad. You're saying bad things about people.
Right.
Gossip is not always bad things.
Right.
Did you hear so-and-so put $100,000 into her kitchen? Did you hear?
Right. It's not good or bad, but
Right.
but people might judge based on hearing that.
People will start feeling jealous. People
Yeah.
will start sharing that. It's intimate information about other people. And by the way, it could be true. A lot of people say, well, it's true.
Yeah.
Truth is not a defense to
Right.
defamation like it is in secular law. In halakha, in Jewish tradition, just because something is true doesn't matter.
Right.
If it offends and it hurts for that information to be spread, even if it's also not negative information. Again, did you hear so-and-so, put $100,000 into their kitchen? There's nothing wrong with if a person's wealthy, they want to spend that kind of money in their kitchen. Gesundheit hate, as they say in French. All the power to them. But our job is not to be sharing and spreading that information around. The second category is Lashon Hara, where it's negative information. But again, it could be true. Third and worst category is called Motzi Shem Ra, bringing out, like when we say Hamotzi Lechem min haaretz, bringing out the bread from the earth. Hamotzi, bringing out a shame, a name, Ra, bad.
Wow.
Giving someone a bad name by lying.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it's defamation.
Right.
And it's interesting. This is the major difference between Jewish tradition and secular law. Slander, which is just a written form for defamation.
Okay.
They're both for, you could sue somebody for that and you can recover damages if you prove it. But if the person that you're accusing who has defamed you can prove or demonstrate they had a reliable source that the information's true, you can't be successful in a defamation suit. In halacha, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it's true or not, because in Judaism we're trying to protect people. We're trying to protect their reputations. Now there are exceptions. It's okay to not make up stuff, but it's okay to share negative information about other people when there's a need. Now, what constitutes a need?
That's tricky.
So,
because you say, well, if someone does something bad, maybe the community needs to know. Maybe you need to be careful who you do business with, and I want to caution you about someone.
So that's one example of a need.
Yeah.
If you've done, but it can't be hearsay. It has to be firsthand information.
Okay.
So if you had a business dealing with someone and you were cheated by them, and it happened to you, it wasn't a rumor, it wasn't hearsay, and you see your friend about to do a deal with the same person, then you're responsible to say something.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's not Lashon Hara then. It's permissible Lashon Hara, I should say.
Would it be a similar situation in dating if you dated someone and they treated you dishonorably to alert someone else who might date them?
Yeah, it has to be firsthand, though.
Firsthand. Okay.
You can't just, I heard the guy's a jerk. I heard the guy is not, you can't start doing that.
What about my friend who I trust dated him and said he's a jerk?
So I heard Rav Herschel Schechter from Yeshiva University quoted that you could say something to the effect like, maybe look into this person.
Okay.
Maybe do a little, what we call in Hebrew, drisha v'chakira, a little investigation.
Okay.
But you can't just share something you heard in the grapevine.
Once you lay out the different categories of language that you should of tales you should avoid telling about someone, you start to think, wow, there are probably a lot of things that I've said or would say and not give a second thought to.
Right.
But if you think about it, they could damage someone's reputation, or it could give the wrong idea.
Yeah, if you're very careful about this area, it requires a lot of mindfulness.
Yeah.
A lot of mindfulness, a lot of thinking twice before we speak. But that's a good thing.
Yeah.
My father, blessed memory, used to love to tell the story that when I was little, someone once asked me a question I didn't answer. And they repeated the question like I didn't hear them. And I bounced back, I'm thinking. I was a little kid. And my father loved that.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
He said, it's a good thing to spend a little time to think before you speak. And my father was very deliberate. He would take a moment. He would think. He also didn't share things if they were unnecessary. He was kind of disciplined about his It came a little, I think, easier to him. He just was not what's the word?
A yapper?
He wasn't a yapper. There are people who are really challenged with this. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
we have a category. You've heard of the Yiddish term, a yenta?
Yeah. From Fiddler, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
We have yentas, and it's very hard for a yenta because it's very juicy.
And people love to hear those stories, even though it's bad for you. So if you're getting the message from everyone, like, yeah, keep sharing this stuff. It's juicy. It must be tough to stop.
And you know why? Why does it feel so good to hear about someone else's?
Well, maybe it's because we want to be warned if someone's going to hurt us. We want the heads up.
Oh, you're saying practically.
Yeah.
I was thinking something more psychological.
Okay.
Why does it make you feel better when you hear someone else did something not so great?
It's like, well, at least I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
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 At least I didn't put 100,000 into my kitchen.
And what it does also, it allows us, I think, a false sense of improvement. We always want to feel we're doing better. So there's two ways of doing better in life, I always like to say. One is actually to do better.
Yeah.
You're improving in whatever area of your life.
Yeah, that's hard.
That's really hard. There's another way, cheaper and simpler, and that is you say something negative or hear something negative about another person, and it makes you feel better right away because you feel like a little superior to them. By default, and you haven't done anything.
Yeah.
And that's why it's not just like harmful to other people. It gives us a full sense of improvement.
Yeah, it gives you permission not to try to work on yourself.
Yeah, and it also shows, and by the way, we're all guilty of this. I'm not trying to preach here as though I've never done this. It's hard. It's hard to stay away from it. But it also demonstrates that our sense of self is not coming from how far I can go in terms of my relationship with God or my fellow human being. It's how I'm doing in relation to other people.
Yeah.
And when you start evaluating yourself in relation to other people, which, by the way, social media has really kind of like done us in on.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
So spreading gossip, don't do it. Next one. Is it forbidden?
Simple, right? No
It's
problem.
simple. Is it forbidden playing violent video games?
Whoa, that's a great question.
And I'd say watching violent movies maybe in the same category.
I don't think it's forbidden,
Mm-hmm.
but I think proceed with caution, particularly at certain ages.
Okay.
When a child's brain is not fully developed. And we now know from science that even a 21-year-old person's parts of their brain are not fully formed, which helps explain some things going on college campus still.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, it's a little joke, but I mean that seriously, that some young people who have been co-opted into the pro-Hamas movement and these protests, I really think they're, been a little brainwashed, and we could still undo some of it because the brain is not fully.
Oh, it's a good point.
I think so, but
well, that's why there's supposed to be adults in charge of the universities to stem those impulses.
So I think when you're a little older, you can handle the violence more. Is it admirable? Is it well, not the word admirable. Is it advisable?
Yeah.
It's probably not advisable, but it's not forbidden.
Right.
To play violent video games or to watch violent movies.
Right.
But I guess I think at some point where there's like really grotesque and sick things being done.
And there are. Oh, yeah. It's come a long way. The technology has come a long way.
I'm not so up on it.
Yeah.
So
you can do all kinds of things in video games now.
So I love watching action movies,
Yeah.
and there's a very fine line between an action movie and, overly violent.
Sure.
There used to be a channel when I grew up called Movies for Guys That Like Movies.
Wow, great name.
And everything was like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone. It was like from my generation.
Oh, yeah. Love that stuff.
And it's just like a lot of beating up, shooting, and killing.
Yeah.
But it wasn't terribly violent because it was almost bordering on silly because it was like very movie. It wasn't so real.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess if it's really real and the technology you're saying, I'm just trying to think under what prohibition would that
And then it's worth questioning, because I think what you're saying, it's not so violent. What you mean is like it's not so graphic. Like you're not seeing that much damage being done to someone on screen. But I don't know if that makes it better. You're still watching someone kill someone, and I don't know if like the presence of blood on the screen really makes that better or worse.
Right. If it's that real, the question could it somehow, if it could be argued and if it could be demonstrated through actual studies, that X amount of time in these games or watching these movies has led or can lead to violent activity, then there might be at least a rabbinic prohibition, at least maybe biblical, in terms of assault, battery, and maiming, and these are all Torah violations.
Okay.
To hit another person is a Torah violation.
Right.
So if you're saying that watching a lot of these movies, X amount of them, or is going to lead you, and I could see it becoming forbidden at some point.
Right. Right. I think lots of us, especially in our generation, we've played these games. We played Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto and everything. And I don't think it's making us violent, but I think if we really reflect, it's like, well, we're putting a lot of our time and energy into something that...
Right. So that doesn't make it forbidden.
Right.
That makes it, ill-advised.
Right.
And it also, there's always this thing, like whenever you ask these questions, is it forbidden? I love the sheet you're looking at right now. Big, is it forbidden? Almost everything could be said is forbidden if it's not like studying Torah, because it's always taking you away from being really productive as a Jew.
Right.
And in yeshiva, they used to say to us, bittul Torah, bittul Torah. Well, bittul means like being idle. And like, it's not forbidden for me to scroll on my phone as long as what I'm scrolling is not inappropriate, kind of material, but it's wasting time. And wasting time is a problem.
Yeah.
Is it absolutely forbidden? Now, Rabbi Lamb, one of my mentors and teachers, you're a Lamb fellow, he used to say that you need some time each day, a little zman libatala, a little time to be idle,
right,
to chill out,
right,
where you're not doing anything productive. You do need that, but too much of it.
right.
And that's a real issue that our generation is having. We are... the people running social media, whoever they are quite adept at sucking us in.
Oh, yeah.
And really playing with our minds to keep us looking at certain things for long periods of time. A lot of screen time. So is that absolutely forbidden? No, but it's really ill-advised because it could be so much more productive and happy as a result.
I think we agree that like learning Torah is engrossing and it captures you, and when you're doing it, like you enter into this like flow state where it's so interesting. But there are, social media, video games, other things. They give that learning a run for its money in terms of being amazing at capturing our attention.
They're very good at capturing our attention, but they're also very good at making you, feel like garbage when you're done. Yeah. There's this almost hangover feeling you can get, and I've experienced this from flipping around too much on your feeds. You're just like, what did I just do? Yeah. Was that an hour? Did that just happen? And when you finish studying Torah, even if it wasn't the most, and by the way, I include other things other than Torah. You read a good book where you're learning some solid values, or you're being, your imagination is being developed. Your creative juices are starting to flow. And it's not Torah per se. All of that is so healthy. And you don't end up with that garbage feeling about yourself. Yeah. Same kind of feeling you have after drinking too much. It's the same thing. Yeah. It's like a self-disgust a little. Yeah. Because we knew we could have done better, and we just got sucked into it, and we just went with it. And it's hard because we're tired after a long day, and there's a lot of things weighing on us to eke out a living or whatever else we have to do in our lives, and we just want to veg.
Yep. So that's about simulated violence. Here's a question about actual violence. Now, we know that meat that you hunt can't be considered kosher because it's not slaughtered the proper way.
Correct.
if you caught it and slaughtered it, maybe it could be okay. But the question is, hunting for fun, hunting for sport, is it forbidden?
Yes, in Judaism, it probably is forbidden. I'll tell you why. If the way of taking the animal's life causes the animal undue harm, then it would be a prohibition of tsar balei chayim, causing harm to an animal. When I say undue, it's because there are times when it would be okay, like I would say animal experimentation for science to advance, come up with a cure for cancer.
It's in the service of saving life.
It's in the service of saving life.
Right, so it could be okay.
I had a student, he was a fellow actually at MJE a couple of years ago. He was a medical student and doing his residency at Sloan Kettering right here in New York City. And he was doing all of these, he was injecting fish with all of these cancers.
Whoa.
And they do this research where they give the fish the name of their own patient, an actual human being patient, and they test certain kind of mixtures of chemotherapy and the like. And they test the fish first before they do it on a person.
Oh, wow. And each individual patient has fish associated with them that they test the treatments on.
Yeah, I mean, it was fascinating.
Wow.
Now, I love fish, and it seemed like really cruel and awful, but that under halacha would be permissible if it was in the service of saving a life.
Okay.
But if it's just for sport, it's absolutely forbidden
if it's to put it up on your wall.
No, there's no justification for that. If it could happen without causing any harm to the animal somehow, I don't know, then maybe it would be okay, but you don't really see a lot of Jewish hunters for that reason. No. It's not a Jewish sport. We simply, it's not a good thing to get into practice of being insensitive to, and just like, oh, let's go have some fun and shoot some deer. Yeah. That's not the way a person should try to have fun. We should develop sensitivity. In fact, even when a shochet, you mentioned before, ritual slaughter, they have to do what's called kisui hadam. The act of slaughter is done in a very, very precise manner. Right. One of the reasons kosher meat is expensive is because the person has to be really well trained. Right. It takes years. And the certain spot where the extremely sharp knife cuts through the esophagus and the trachea causes the most amount of blood to be lost. That, and I'm not saying this is the reason, but we know that the halachot of how to perform a shechita spares the animal pain. We'll never really know all pain, right? But as much humanly possible, right? And then after the shochet has to cover the blood. Why? Because we have to keep a sensitivity. And I always say this also: there's no mitzvah to eat meat. There were some great rabbis that were vegetarians. Maybe they didn't promote vegetarianism so much. You don't see that a lot in the religious observant community. But there's no mitzvah. Yeah, on Shabbat and on the holidays, we encourage people to eat meat because the Talmud says in simcha lebasar v'yayin that there's no joy unless there's wine and there's meat. But that doesn't apply if you're a vegetarian. And as long as you're not a vegetarian because you think it's immoral to take animal life, because if God permits it,
then it couldn't be immoral.
Then it can't be immoral. But just because God permits something doesn't mean you have to do it. In fact, if you look at the Torah and the progression of eating meat from the Torah, it's quite interesting. We start out in the Garden of Eden where we're talking to the animals and we're not permitted to take their meat for consumption. And it's only after Noach and the flood that people ask God for that. God permits people, and only in regard to sacrifices, and then little by little it's so you see that it's not like God, thou shalt eat meat. And by the way, interestingly, we know that it's not a command because there would be no debate as to whether a shochet should make a bracha before he performs the shechita. You only make a bracha on mitzvahs. Right. So is it a mitzvah?
it's like an if thing, right? It's like if you're going to have meat, then
Exactly.
you must prepare it this
Right.
way.
So it's like if you have employees,
Yeah.
you have to pay them on time.
You don't have to have employees.
But nobody said you had to have employees, correct? So that's kind of like a similar.
Interesting. I think we can do an episode on vegetarianism.
Oh yeah,
at some
I'm
point.
writing this up for my next book, for my next volume of the Jewish Experience.
There's going to be a volume 2.
There's supposed to be volume 2 and 3.
Wow.
I'm sharing it with a lot of people, so it forces me to do it. But it's a lot of work, and the first chapter in volume 2 is hopefully going to be keeping kosher. And I've already written the vegetarian part.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So get that book when it comes out, and maybe we can do an episode about that. Okay, next one. This is something I heard. It might be forbidden. I have no idea where it comes from. Listening to female singers?
Oh yes, this is interesting.
Is it forbidden?
So it's called in Hebrew kol isha, the voice of a woman.
Yes.
And the Talmud mentions that the voice of a woman is considered what we call erva, which is like a part of a person's body. Man has erva too. It's not just a woman.
Okay.
That is inappropriate to be exposed.
Oh.
Now, I spoke to a friend of mine, very dear friend, very religious guy, who goes to concerts where women sing.
Yeah.
And he called his rabbi, and his rabbi did not think that women singing in certain contexts with microphones is a problem of kol isha.
Okay.
But many other rabbis disagree and believe that it is still kol isha. I do listen to women singing on recorded.
Okay.
I don't think the prohibition applies unless the person's in front of you.
Okay.
You can see them, and the singing is being done, I guess, within the context of a little more sensuality. But generally speaking, we don't just, whenever we have halacha, we don't just say, oh, only if she's attractive, only if she's really got a great voice and the voice is somehow seductive.
Okay.
We say across the board. And I had a friend, one of my close friends growing up, girl I grew up with, terrible voice.
Okay.
And every time she would sing, she was like, don't worry, Mark. There'll never be kol isha with my voice.
Right.
You know? But we don't.
But it's not really about that.
It's not about that. Once there's a prohibition, but there are certain more liberal segments in the Orthodox community where they will have women getting up and singing because they feel like I'm speaking into a microphone right now. There's a whole engineering question. Are you hearing me, or you're hearing the microphone taking Mark's voice or your Daniel's voice and playing around with it and putting it out? And that question comes up with, can I have a microphone in synagogue? Let's say it's not on Shabbat. I don't have to worry about the Shabbat things.
Right.
But during the week, I want to hear the Torah.
Right.
Am I hearing the Torah straight from the mouth of the Balkore, the person reading it, or am I getting it from the microphone, which may not be his voice?
Oh. But you could still understand the words, right?
100%.
And in some synagogues, it's hard to understand the words without a microphone.
That's also correct, which is why most halachic decisors don't view the microphone as enough of a leniency.
Okay.
Because you're really hearing the person. But others say, no, it's not actually the person. It's a minority opinion that has that leniency, but there is such a ruling.
Does kol isha specifically refer to singing, or is it just talking too?
No, singing, just singing.
Okay. Because you might hear that and think, what, I shouldn't even listen to women when they talk?
No.
Okay.
It's a specific thing about singing. Person's voice is an instrument.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's I've always followed it, and I understand people seeing it as strange.
Yeah.
And I understand people seeing it as like not sexist, but like a little unfair.
Yeah.
Because if a woman has an incredible voice, which many women do, this would very much hamper her ability to really be out there as a female vocalist. It's hard.
Yeah.
The Talmud says, "Trei koli lo mishtame," that two voices together cannot be discerned, and therefore that's another way of sort of getting around it. If it's more than one person singing, if there's two voices together, then it may not be kol isha. It's another way of kind of, like at my Shabbat table, I have women singing all the time. but I don't have anyone doing a solo.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because their voices is not discerned or distinguished. There are people I've had sometimes people coming to my Shabbat table, very Orthodox, who won't sing
Oh.
if they're a female.
Right.
But I think that's more of a stringency. I don't think that's required.
So it sounds like the prohibition is quite a narrow case of like in the room with a woman who's singing like to you in a seductive way.
I mean, it could be to you and 20,000 fans in Madison Square Garden.
Okay. But I can still listen to Fleetwood Mac. It's not an issue.
Thank God.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what about getting a massage from someone of the opposite sex?
Oh, that's interesting. So generally speaking, we would probably shy away from that unless it was purely therapeutic. And let's say that person was a better masseuse and that individual, there was no one else available or, to that degree, you would probably do better to have the same sex.
Right.
Because of the possibility that, that experience could arouse and, lead to some other things.
Okay.
I guess generally speaking, it would be, maybe there could be a difference, like if the person was much older and like super professional and like, but in general, we have this concept in halacha called lo plug.
Lo plug.
Yeah, plug is like a division. Okay. We don't separate, we don't divide, we don't start saying, well, you okay. Like if something is forbidden, we just try to stay away from it in general. But I guess if there are extenuating circumstances of some sort,
right. Well, massage is a very broad category because it is a legitimate, like maybe not medical intervention, but like a legitimate therapeutic intervention.
Oh yeah.
But then you can also just walk into a place and be like, oh, I want a massage.
Right.
And you're saying there may be legitimate reasons to get like a therapeutic massage from someone of the opposite sex, but you really shouldn't just be walking into a place and saying, I want a massage.
It would be better to try to have the same gender.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you call that a rabbinic prohibition? Does it fall under yichud? Is that rabbinic?
Well, no. Yichud, which is a prohibition to be in a locked room with a person of the opposite sex, is from the Torah itself.
Okay.
It's actually what we do right after the chuppah.
Yep.
You know that?
Yep.
After a couple is married under the chuppah, we lock them in a room for 8 minutes or whatever, because that's an indication they're not being intimate in those moments. But it's an indication that they're really married. Right. What does it really mean to be married? It's just ceremonial.
Right.
You're married because now you can create a home together and you can be alone in a home with each other. So generally speaking, being Shomer Yichud is a very, very important thing. And this, by the way, belongs to a whole category of laws and traditions that probably very much removed from the norm in our society, but really important to have those kind of boundaries and also have that kind of special intimacy reserved for only that special person.
Right. So the yichud is like the community saying, okay, we agree that it's okay for you to be secluded together now.
Yeah, well, it's really showing the community we are married.
Yeah.
You know, and but I gave a speech years ago about it's about John Lennon and the Jews because I'm a crazy John Lennon fan. Yeah. But it's all about being focused and particularistic about. He was a real universalist, and the whole world is one. He wanted to. He didn't like national boundaries, and I was arguing a little against some of his ideology because if you don't show preference to certain people or certain nations or certain individuals, then you can't have intimacy.
Right.
What makes a relationship special is the fact it's just you and that other person.
Right.
Once you start allowing other people into the room, if you will, then you're robbing what's unique and special about the relationship, which is that it's just you and the other person.
Right. Well, this may be something for Balei Tshuva to struggle with, is like if you've spent your life without those kind of boundaries, but then you want to get married and have a proper religious family and
Yeah.
marriage, it's like, well, you haven't saved that kind of special thing for the person you're going to marry. I wonder about that experience.
There's no question that it's, I think, more special when you've saved that, let's say,
Yeah.
that intimacy for that special one person.
Yeah.
But I do want, for anyone listening to this that, was intimate with other people and started observing these rules and laws, you could always create that later as well by having that, those boundaries post-marriage.
Right.
But it's always better to start as early as you can.
Right. So start now if you can, I guess.
100%.
Yeah. Smoking cigarettes. Is it
Ooh.
forbidden?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because it's bad for you.
It's so bad for you, and it's so linked that every time you go to a doctor, what is the first thing the doctor asks you?
Do you smoke?
Do you smoke or drink?
Or do you drink? Yeah.
And you're on a totally different regimen if you're a smoker or drinker.
Oh, medical regimen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, and for years, the tobacco companies were pulling the wool over people's eyes. Surgeon General warns that smoking may be. They were playing around with this, and really terrible.
Right.
Now, not every, thing we do physically that isn't so healthy becomes forbidden under Judaism. It has to rise to a certain level. If the masses are still involved in something, we have this concept of called Shomer Pesayim Hashem, that God watches the fools. And because if something is so accepted into society, the rabbis have a hard time considering it prohibited under, danger. Because if it's so engaged in.
Right.
Now, you can say smoking. A lot of people still smoking, but it's seen and it's understood, generally speaking, as a very dangerous thing.
Right. But 100 years ago, I think most rabbis would not have said
No,
that.
and they didn't, by the way. There were very few, if any, rabbis, halachic decisors, that forbade smoking, that felt that smoking was forbidden under the Torah prohibition, ushmartem et nafshotechem, and you shall guard your soul, which refers, ironically, to the body.
Right, your nefesh, right?
Yeah. It's referring specifically that you're not allowed to do something that really could put yourself in harm's way.
Okay.
Throwing yourself in front of a moving bus is prohibited.
Yeah.
The question is, does smoking cigarettes, does it rise to that level? It's not as direct, it takes longer.
Right.
But enough.
And some people smoke for 80 years and apparently they're fine,
Yeah, listen, there's genetics.
Yeah.
But
there's enough reason to believe that it's really bad for you.
There are still rabbis out there that permit it, because I've seen in yeshivas people still smoking.
I know.
Very Orthodox Jews still smoking.
Yeah. What do you think they would say if you asked them about it? Say,
They would probably rely on some other rabbi's opinion that says it doesn't rise to the level. It's dangerous, but it's not such a direct, quick danger as to put myself in that kind of harm's way.
Right. And it's easy to judge smokers because it's such a visible thing, but everyone has stuff that they still
I'm
do,
not trying
right?
to listen. I'm not judging.
No, me either.
You're asking
everyone
a question.
has something.
Everybody's got a vice.
Yeah, or two or three.
And if you can get off nicotine, the patch, whatever it is,
Yeah.
or even it's so important, because it's been really the evidence, the medical. I'm not a doctor, obviously, but I've spoken to enough doctors, and again, every time you go and they ask you that question right away.
Yeah. So then the other question they ask, do you drink alcohol? We know that wine and some alcohol is pretty normal around
Right.
the Jewish world. We
Right.
make kiddush over wine.
Correct.
And, maybe it's not the best thing for your health, but it's considered to be good to enjoy.
Right.
But what about something like whiskey?
So again, it's all a question of moderation.
Yeah.
Too much whiskey, where it could really impact both your liver and your brain cells.
Yeah.
And it would be it's forbidden generally to get drunk.
Okay.
You're not supposed to get drunk,
Okay.
because getting drunk allows yourself to not be able to perform mitzvot properly.
Yeah.
We do and say stupid things when we're drunk.
Yeah.
It's not a dignified.
You do all the other things we've been talking about.
Exactly. Right. We do things we are ashamed of afterwards. So getting drunk, but it's okay to get a little buzz.
Yeah.
A little excitement. Judaism is not an all or nothing religion. And we don't just say, we don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Even if the studies say that no amount of alcohol, which is what some people are saying, is healthy.
Yeah.
It's all bad.
Yeah.
We don't say that you can't have any alcohol.
Right.
Because we don't live that kind of extreme life. We're not an ascetic people, religion. And our job is to really sanctify things. Wine is a really good example of that.
Yeah.
Wine could destroy a person's life. So we should just say, oh, forget it. Because it could lead you to A, B, and C. Now, for some people with proclivities towards alcoholism or who've been there or aren't sober long enough to handle it, they shouldn't have any. And my yarmulke is off to all of those people, Jews and non-Jews alike, that are not having anything because they know they can't have any.
Yeah. And grape juice is just as good to
Grape
make
juice
Kiddush?
is just as good to make Kiddush. And at the 4 cups at the Seder, it's fine.
Yeah.
If because alcoholism is a terrible addiction, it's a terrible, it's destroyed many people's lives, and more than people would think.
Oh, yeah.
And in the Jewish community, outside the Jewish community, nobody's immune from this. So I commend people that really stay away from it if they have to. But if you don't have to, and you can learn how to regulate.
Yeah.
When I say regulate, I don't mean like get yourself used to drinking so much alcohol that you can handle so much. No, but using it to sanctify life.
Yeah.
Because there's something very holy and beautiful potentially about wine.
Yeah.
And even whiskey a little, give you a little buzz to be able to make a l'chaim, make a bracha over it, and using it to celebrate Shabbat with. But if it's just, I need this to get me over this moment. I come home and I'm stressed out and I need to drink. That's not a great.
Right.
We're using it to basically connect ourselves closer to Hashem and our Jewish tradition.
Yeah.
And to be able to celebrate a little, sometimes I'll take a little of a drink before I speak. If I'm nervous, calms me down a little. So I guess there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe I was saying a minute ago, like, oh, we got to be careful.
Yeah.
But, Torah is for adults.
Yeah. And so I think that lays out a general principle that you should use your judgment about your individual circumstance, about using something like alcohol, that as long as you can be moderate with it, it's not something that we would prohibit.
And not only that, it's part of our tradition.
Right.
We have 4 cups at the Seder. We have Kiddush wine every Friday night and Shabbat day, or whiskey Shabbat day. But it's all within moderation. Now, I want to say something because people then use the religion a little to go further.
Yeah.
There was a movement, I remember the Orthodox Union outlawed, as though they have the rabbinic authority for this. They don't. But they tried outlawing Kiddush clubs. You know what a Kiddush club is?
No.
Good. You're innocent and pure, Daniel. Yeah. It's beautiful. Many synagogues, all denominations have these Kiddush clubs where people go out in the middle of shul. They tend to be more predominant in the Orthodox world.
Okay.
Usually after the Torah is finished being read,
right? But
during the Haftorah, the portion of the prophets, which by the way is just as important, but I guess it got deemed less important. And they go out and have a shot of whiskey and maybe some herring or some cholent or something, eat something because service is long and they're a little bored, and it's not a terrible thing.
Right.
But there are people that have used it as a way to kind of sanction their alcohol problems and issues. And
it does seem wrong to choose alcohol over hearing the words of the
Bible.
So
that's a separate issue.
Okay.
That you're walking out in the middle.
Right.
I have a really funny story I have to tell you.
Okay.
If you have time for a story?
Yes, we have time.
But in general, you don't want to use the allowances that Torah gives to have wine and the mitzvah to drink wine. You don't want to use that as a way of just like sort of covering up a real vice that you have, a real problem towards alcoholism.
Is there a term for like taking a mitzvah and like using it for kind of your own gain?
Yeah. Well, there's a thing called the Ramban Nachmanides, great mystic and Talmudist from Spain, lived in the 1200s. He said, you can be a novel b'shus HaTorah. A novel's despicable person in the eyes of the Torah. By taking a mitzvah and just doing the mitzvah, but doing it in a way that's like, I want to have something at the Kiddush, so I push my way through.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he's he comes to shul and he's this, but he's not courteous to other people. He's not mindful of other people's. You're doing the mitzvah, but you're like a little gross in the way you're doing it.
Okay. Or, right, I guess you could say making kiddush over wine, but you have like a comically large goblet of wine and you just drink way too much. And maybe that would be wrong.
I mean, if you have a problem. If you don't have a problem, it's okay to drink the whole cup.
Okay. Cool.
I'll tell you the quick story. So
Sure.
when in the early years.
We actually have lots of time.
This was just so funny. Rabbi Schachter told me, my teacher and mentor, I don't know if you know Rabbi Jacob J. Schachter. He helped me start MGE, big scholar of our generation. I owe him so much. He calls me into his office to tell me something. And a little context. So we used to have our beginner service that we now have on the 10th floor of the Jewish Center. Jewish Center is a 100-year-old modern Orthodox synagogue.
Right.
And we rent space, 10th and 11th floors. But we used to be on the 4th floor.
Okay.
When we were much smaller and our rent was much less.
Yeah.
And every Shabbat, like at a certain time, while I was running the beginner service for like 15, 20 people, the Kiddush Club members would come traipsing through our service.
Okay.
Because in the back of where we had the service was this little room where they had some schnapps and some whiskey and some herring.
Okay.
And I knew what was going on, but I never wanted to say anything to my students because, they're pure. Like, I have to start explaining to them why these Orthodox Jews are leaving shul in the middle of the service and for some schnapps and herring. Yeah. Rabbi Schachter calls me into his office. He says, Mark, I just got off the phone with so-and-so, biggest macher in the Kiddush Club. He didn't tell me the name because Lashon Hara.
Right.
And the guy says, Rabbi, every week we walk out of synagogue, out of the service in the middle. And here we are, these veteran Orthodox Jews,
right,
traipsing through Rabbi Wildes' beginner's service with all these young and starry-eyed Bali Tshuva people coming. And here we are walking out in the middle, and we're walking through his service to go get some schnapps. And Rabbi Schachter's like waiting. And he's like, maybe you could speak to Rabbi Wildes about moving the beginner service. I love yeah, we thought we had him.
We know what we're doing is wrong, and we'd like to stop feeling guilty about it.
And by the way, I will say, I do have a little of a soft spot because davening is long.
Oh, yeah.
And
every day, every week.
And I grew up going to a camp where they used to break in the middle of davening after the Torah reading, before Musaf, and we would have, someone would make Kiddush, and we would have breakfast.
Oh, that's nice.
It was so nice. We used to actually go to the Chadar Ochel, which was like the mess hall.
Yeah.
Speak to some, speak your language,
Thanks.
army language. And they would make Kiddush there, and we would eat, and we had like great chocolate babka. I remember we had sugar cereal because it was Shabbos, and during the week we couldn't have sugar cereal.
Oh.
They were trying to like give us something special for Shabbat. I'm not endorsing sugar cereal. It's not healthy, but it's probably not a prohibition of what we spoke about before. And then we would go back and finish the service. So I always think about doing that at MGE if I could get more people on time. If people really showed up at 9:30,
right,
I would break at 10:30 or 10:45 for Kiddush. Do the Kiddush in the middle. Why do we have to do it at the end?
Yeah. Well, we've started doing mincha.
Yeah.
And so it kind of feels that way, where it's like we daven, we have a little break, and then we go back to davening.
Right, that's interesting.
I like doing that, but I still think for a lot of people, the morning prayers are very long.
Yeah. But that kind of would break it up a little.
It would break it
but
up.
We have the Cafe Connect that we do.
Right.
Where we have like a little breakout session. And what do they do? What do they start Cafe Connect off with? Kiddush.
Yes.
Donuts.
Yes.
So people know if they want to get something to eat.
Wait, isn't that just a Kiddush club?
It is a little of a Kiddush club, isn't it?
But it's centered around learning.
We're going out. We're not going out for the Kiddush club. We're not going out for the donut and Kiddush. We're going out for
the Starbucks coffee.
We're going out to hear Rifki or Rabbi Jack, share some pearls of wisdom from the Parsha.
And it's great. It engages people who, not everyone is in a place where they're going to get that much value out of just hearing the Hebrew words of Torah.
Right.
Because if you don't understand it, it might not mean that much to you, but the Cafe Connect can really be good.
Right. And that's basically why we started it.
Yeah.
Because for some Jews, listening to a 40-minute Torah reading is like listening to Chinese for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So at least go in the other room and learn something about it.
Well, okay, so what's the mitzvah? Is it hearing the words of Torah chanted, or is it learning about the Torah portion?
That's a great question, and you phrased it perfectly.
Yeah.
It's really learning.
Yeah.
And there's a mitzvah. There isn't really an individual mitzvah. I'm going to split hairs here like a lawyer,
Yeah.
like a good lawyer. There is no individual mitzvah that I have to hear the words of there's a mitzvah for the tzibur, for the community there's a mitzvah for the community to have the Torah being read. So there's an educational component. It's supposed to be educational.
Yeah.
And you know how I know that? Because in times of antiquity, there was always what's called a mitargem, a miturgaman. A miturgaman is a translator.
Oh, okay.
They had somebody, as every verse was being read, someone would read that verse then in Aramaic, which was the vernacular.
Oh, wow.
The equivalent today would be, it would take a long time. Somebody would read a verse from the Torah, and then there would be someone standing next to the person saying it in English.
Wow.
Now, we don't do that anymore, and unfortunately, Kriyat Torah, the reading of the Torah, has become very stale for a lot of people in shul for that reason. But if your Hebrew's good enough, and you could follow it, you can follow the storyline.
Right. Well, you get I think everyone who comes here can read English, and so you get the value out of reading it out of the Chumash.
Correct.
You read the English part. And I think you're saying that that's a perfectly good use of that time to learn the English side of the Chumash.
It is, because the point of the Kriyat Torah is not some sort of magical hearing of the Hebrew words of the Torah.
Yeah.
That does apply a little more to the prayers. There is something about saying the prayers in Hebrew. We spoke a little about this last night in class. We had a class about prayer. There is something about praying in Hebrew, but the reading of the Torah mitzvah that was instituted, we believe, in the days of Moses already, that the Torah should be read every Shabbat. It was really about education.
Right.
That the community should be well-versed in the stories and in the rules and laws of the Torah.
Right. So the Cafe Connect is not a kids club. It's an opportunity for people who are not already well-versed in the Torah to get that learning, get up to speed. Great. Okay, this can be our last one, and then we can wrap up. I think we got the general principle about, like, alcohol, cigarettes, but I'm interested if there's a prohibition about other drugs, specifically what you would call, like, the really the mind-altering or the mind-opening drugs.
So I'm not going to be able to fully answer this. I will tell you that Rav Moshe Feinstein, who was one of the late, great halachic decisor of the 20th century, he wrote a number of tshuvot of responses about marijuana. And pretty negative.
Okay.
That it could be a prohibition of what's called in Hebrew chavala, which is maiming. Like, I'm not permitted to cut off another person's arm if it kills enough brain cells or kills any brain cells. Then it could be a problem of chavala.
And I don't know if marijuana literally kills brain cells, but it does kill your concentration and your focus.
Right. So recreationally, it's not a problem medicinally. If a person, God forbid, is going through chemo and they're, marijuana is often used to help with the nausea and some of the other side effects, or for other medicinal purposes. For purely recreational, Rav Moshe Feinstein was against it. Now, he hasn't been around in a long time, and I'm sure there's no literature that's out, but I'm getting a lot of reels on my Instagram feed that are telling me, and they seem like legit scientists and doctors, that a lot of new studies are showing that sustained marijuana use is really unhealthy.
Yeah.
Besides the fact that it just makes us drowsy and lazy and prevents us from having the motivation that we need to really go out and grab life by the horns. Yeah. You want to have that. Now, you don't want to, you don't want to go to the other extreme and sniff cocaine so I could grab life by the horns.
Yeah.
What I don't know enough about is this new phenomena about microdosing.
Right. People do that with psilocybin.
It's happening more LSD.
Right.
And it's being used by psychologists and by very legit mental health professionals to help people with all sorts of issues. And I don't know enough. I'm gonna give you a very unsatisfactory answer. I'd have to do some more research as to what, and I would just say, if it's being prescribed by a doctor, a legit doctor, and it's helping with a serious psychological issue, there's nothing wrong with it. It's fine. And it might even be a mitzvah of a rapo yirapeh, which is the biblical source in the Torah for healing, that the doctors were given the authority to heal.
Oh, wow.
And if this is part of healing, then we should use it. If it's just, and this is a good example, this is kind of like the wine, going back to the wine. Like wine could be used to sanctify and wine could be used to destroy. So it's the same idea. If it's just being used to escape and just to get high because I just don't want to deal with my life right now, you have to think about that. How can I learn to get more high on life itself? You see, and maybe this is a good way to end this conversation, this discussion, is Judaism was really intended to enable us to get high on life. And the mitzvos are there, and that's why the mitzvahs pertain to physical things, because physical things in the world are just physical things, and everything could just be seen as part of our just human biology, even sex. But if sex or any physical action, drug, food we eat is approached in a spiritual way, and not any old spiritual way, but a particular kind of spiritual way. Judaism is really a science, if you will, of how to have a roadmap of spirituality to energize us spiritually and to connect ourselves to our source. Then what you're doing is you're taking the physical world and you're using it for its intended purpose. That's why we make a blessing before we eat. Because what you're doing is you're using then the food for its intended purpose, which is not simply to feel good. Now, there's nothing wrong with that in Judaism. I said before, we're not an ascetic people or religion. But then you're squandering what that sex, what that food, what that wine was supposed to be used for.
Yeah.
And you're using it for a quick high. Yeah.
I think what you're saying is like your stomach is not a toy for you to play with. Like your stomach is, you eat, you use it to eat for a sacred purpose. And like your brain is not a toy for you to play with. You have your brain so that you can fulfill a sacred purpose. You probably shouldn't put drugs in it, at the detriment of fulfilling that sacred purpose.
Right. But I'm trying to put a little more of a happiness spin on the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like if you really want to get the most out of those drugs and that food and all of that stuff, you want to use it in its prescribed manner.
Okay.
The Torah is the prescription as to how to use the physical world. And that's why when a husband and wife get together, there are certain periods of time where they separate physically, and they're not intimate with each other, and the other times they are. And that's why when we eat, we make a blessing. We only eat certain kinds of foods and have to prepare it in a certain kind of way, because the physical thing in and of itself has no value.
Yeah.
But even so far as the physical thing is used to promote spiritual connection, because you got to ask yourself the simple question: why is God putting us in this physical world to begin with?
Yeah.
Why doesn't He just create us as angels, not needing any physicality and just being spiritually connected? He wants to bring spirituality where it doesn't exist, and that's your job and my job. Our job is to reveal spirituality in a world where it's hidden, to be able to apply these spiritual techniques, to be able to bring out of the physical reality the spiritual potential, because that's how life becomes exciting. Otherwise, it's just food. Otherwise, it's just sex. Otherwise, and I'm not saying the food and the sex can't be enjoyable, but at some point, they lose their meaning, and they lose their physical ability to really pleasure us.
Yeah.
There's almost a diminishing, to use economic terminology, almost like a diminishing point of return.
Oh, yeah.
When you over-engage in any physical activity and it's not being directed towards something greater. When the sex is not being directed towards, let's say, commitment, love, building a family, so on and so forth. Where the food is just, I'm hungry, I'm going to eat something. And it's not being used to celebrate Shabbat. Where, we can go through every physical activity, and that's why there's so many commandments, because there's so much physicality out there.
Yeah.
And that's the opportunity we have through our Judaism, is really to release those spiritual sparks into an otherwise physical world and really elevate everything.
Yeah. And unlike those things that have a point of diminishing returns, as far as I can tell, committing to being observant, to learning Torah, to committing, to being a part of the Jewish community, it seems to just give back more and more the more you put into it.
The more you put in, the more you're going to get back. It's kind of like what we said before about scrolling versus like spending time doing other productive things. It's just going to fill you. And we have to start getting used to learning how to fill not only our bodies, but our souls.
Well, I hope that you found this podcast fulfilling. For a podcast about what is forbidden, I'd say we stayed pretty positive. So let's go get high on life.
Let's go get high on life. And by the way, I love the way you just said that, Daniel, because the forbidden things are there to create something really powerful and positive, and to be able to enjoy life. I'll finish with one last thing. Think about playing soccer on a rooftop with no fence.
Ooh. Oh, yeah, you wouldn't want to do that.
You can't enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
The boundaries are not just there because we need to keep things sacred and we need to keep things. The boundaries are there because we can't play ball without. It's going to go out. You're going to have to keep going down and getting it's dangerous. Boundaries are our friends.
Very good. And that's the boundary of this podcast. Thanks for listening.
Thanks.